House of Fins. My name is Danny and I'm going to walk you through some of the really cool angelfish that we have in this week. Alright, first up we have the Scribble Angelfish. This really beautiful guy gets that name because of the scribble-like patterns on his dorsal and anal fin. This really beautiful fish is going to get rather large at around 11 to 12 inches. You can find this guy throughout the southwestern Pacific Oceans. Can be found in small groups in the wild, which is pretty interesting, and they're also one of the more hardy of the large angelfish species. You're going to find a common theme here where most of the fish here are going to be not reef safe because their predominant diets revolve around eating spongy foods, which a lot of corals tend to be very similar to. So they're definitely not going to be the most reef safe. These guys are one of those, and there's going to be a few more species that we're going to highlight today that are going to be the case as well. Alrighty, next up we have the annularis angelfish. This really big-bodied angelfish is going to max out at around 1 foot. You're going to find this guy all over the Pacific. I'm talking anywhere from East Africa, from New Caledonia, all the way over to Japan. They're all over the place. They're semi-aggressive, so you definitely want to keep them with some other bigger-bodied fish as well. You definitely want to be careful not to mix them with the same species because they're definitely going to beat each other up. Although in the wild, a really interesting thing about these guys is they actually form harems. So it'll be one male and a few females, and the male will kind of occupy a little area and make sure no one else gets near his ladies, which is a pretty neat little tidbit about them. Alright, next up we have the queen angelfish. This really beautiful fish is going to be found all throughout the western Atlantic. This is going to be one of the bigger ones. This guy's going to max out at around 15 to 18 inches, so these guys definitely get massive. A really neat tidbit about these guys is in the wild, they're actually monogamous, and they're long-term monogamous too, where pairs can be with each other for years on end. Last but most certainly not least, we have the regal angelfish. Look at that really long pin in for my camera guy right there. That's a huge shout out to him. I want to do this guy last because of all the large angelfish we've covered today, this one is actually going to be one of the most reef safe. These guys are going to max out at around 10 to 12 inches, so they still get pretty big. You're going to find these guys from anywhere in the Indian Ocean all the way out to the Red Sea. These guys are fairly delicate just because you want to make sure that they're eating, and sometimes they don't adjust well into captivity, so you definitely want to make sure you're getting a nice hardy one that you plan on taking home. And like I said, they're potentially reef safe. Of all the angelfish, like I said, that I've covered today, these ones can actually tolerate eating meatier foods way more readily, and if you keep them well fed enough, more likely than not they'll end up avoiding your coral. And they're also peaceful too, so you don't really have to worry about them beating anyone up. You also want to be cautious as to who you keep them with, just to make sure that they themselves don't end up getting beat up. Alright everyone, thank you for tuning in for this week's video. Be sure to leave a like as well as following us on all of our social media platforms, being Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We'll see you next week.